All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. Welcome back to the Korea Society. My name is Stephanie Hwang. I'm the Development Program Officer here. And just for a brief introduction for those of you who are new to the Korea Society, we've been around since 1957, and our mission is to promote greater awareness, understanding, and cooperation between the people of the US and Korea. So we do that through a couple of different program departments, including policy, business and economics, arts and culture, education, and the development team where I work. And in the development team, we have this goal to develop our young professionals network. So we have this program series that's been going on since 2011 where we feature speakers from diverse industries, experiences, backgrounds, and we want to create a platform for networking and mentorship and just learning and development. So this is part of that series, and we're really grateful to our speakers for joining us today, Melissa and Youngjin, and to all of you for coming. I know it was a little rainy today, and to everybody who's here on the live stream, thank you for joining us. So I'm really excited for this program today. We're going to be talking about how to navigate workplace culture, and our speakers have really great experience moving across the world and being in two like completely different places and navigating how to deal with people, how to deal with the work culture. So I'm excited to turn it over to our speakers. Firstly, let's give them a round of applause for joining us today. But yeah, I'm going to let our speakers introduce themselves. So Melissa and Youngjin, starting with Melissa, can you just briefly introduce your career and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So, hi, my name is Melissa Choi. It's an honor to be here on the stage. So, I'm currently a global marketing director at Revlon, overseeing multiple skincare brands for Elizabeth Arden. And so, my role is to really manage like end-to-end project innovation and launch global brand campaigns to really scale our business. Previously, I was with Shinsegae International in Korea, really kind of helping them build their beauty business and industry, beauty segment within their company. And it was really helpful for me because coming from a consulting background, I was a brand consultant and a research analyst at Nielsen, and that really kind of helped me kind of build that foundation to be more brand focused and more strategic from that perspective to really kind of help the business to kind of grow and build their own brand, if that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, so that's my background in terms of career. And so yeah, I'll just pass it off to you, Youngjin.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So I'm honored to share the background as well. So my name is Youngjin Yoon. I'm currently the director at the Morgan Stanley on the internal audit department. So my specialty is the resilience and the third-party risk management and technology risk management as well. So I grew up in South Korea and completed the education background until the college in South Korea. And then I started my career at the Deloitte Seoul office. And over the 6 years, my focus area is the technology risk management and the risk data analytic. And then I moved to the US for my MBA degree. And then after the 2 years, and then I rejoined the Deloitte Chicago office. And over the 4 years, I changed my kind of the focus area on the IT assurance area. And then I moved to the East, and then I'm here. And then I've been with the Morgan Stanley over 3.5 years. And on a personal note, I'm really interested in the technology industry, technology trend. I wrote a few books regarding the Web3 and data analytics. And also, I'm living in Connecticut with my wife and two kids.
Wow, great. Both with really cool consulting backgrounds. So
Mhm.
Melissa, let's go into your like global moves. How did you get to the
Yeah.
US?
So I had a very unique childhood. So I was born in Korea, but I was raised majority of my time in Romania and Russia, former communist countries. So definitely I was fortunate enough to really experience different cultures, surrounded by different people. And that really kind of helped me embrace different cultures, first of all, and be open, be curious, and also kind of build that muscle of resiliency. So that's like, and that really kind of also like traveling to different parts of the world, and especially focus on Europe, really helped me kind of really open my eyes. And that actually really helped me to be where I am today, like really building the foundation of that really kind of helped me thrive throughout my career. So yeah, I mean, and also like shape who I am today.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, so what like fully motivated your move to the US?
Sure. So after living multiple years in Europe, I came to Korea. I started my career there, and I just naturally moved to New York City because of my husband's job relocation. So it was more of like an external, um, move for me and factor. But really, the reason that was really motivated me to really kind of build my career path in New York City was multiple reasons, I say. Like, first, I thought that my multicultural background definitely would be an asset to like American global companies, where the companies really value diversity and diverse perspectives. And also being in the beauty industry, where in Korea, where Korea is a leader of beauty, really kind of gave me that competitive advantage. And lastly, I think New York City is just the energy of New York City really draw me to really kind of want to work in this city. And I think it's because, this city is where you really kind of stretches you to the next level and really kind of enables you to find the new you. And if you really kind of try harder and push yourself, then you'll get to another place that you never expected. So I think that positive energy really kind of motivated me to start a career in New York City. And I would have to say it wasn't as easy, even though I lived in, different type part of the world and I have multicultural background. I don't think it's easy because, you're now in a professional setting, and also the cultures are very different. I feel like the American culture coming from Korea and also in Europe, I think the American culture is also very unique and different. And obviously, like myself wanting to learn and different cultures helped, but I think that there definitely was challenges that came through.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I'm curious to hear like what were the differences between moving between Korea and Europe compared to moving to Korea between Korea and the US?
So, I mean, like, obviously, I was younger when I was moving from Korea to Europe, and definitely I was with my family, in different, like, I want to say a nest. However, in terms of culture, I think Europeans, because they're also, coming from different countries, they're more open to different cultures. However, in America, in New York City especially, where we do call it a melting pot, I do feel they're open. However, there's still a lack of understanding. I think there's a silent expectation where you really have to also understand their culture. And that's why, like, even though you speak great English, not a lot of people flourish because of the cultural understanding is different. And you have to kind of understand their language and, their culture a little bit more, if that makes sense. For instance, for me, when I was growing up, I loved like HOT, whatever, like those K-pop culture. Nobody would understand who they are. I don't know, like the comedians, the famous comedians or actors or actresses that are very popular in the United States when I was growing up. And that kind of communication and that like topic definitely links them. So definitely you have to really kind of try to understand their culture, but also learn what's trending, what they like, just to kind of weave it into my experience and try to like just, to be blend in with the Americans.
Yeah, that's so fascinating to
Yeah.
hear. Like
Yeah.
coming from the U.S.
Yeah.
side, it's like new to hear what you might have to get used to. But sorry, going back to Youngjin, I know that you said that you came here for your MBA and for schooling, and that kind of took you around. But what were the key decision factors that inspired your move to the U.S.?
The decision, the consideration is quite simple. So I'm typical the homegrown the person in Korea. So the once I joined to the Deloitte, so my daily base the work is project based. So I signed to the diverse consulting project for the local company, the manufacturing, the industry company, as well as finance industry. So, but I really have chance to assign to the global project, the working with the global companies. The most of the cases, I mean, my colleague who has studied abroad and they're working more the international experience assigned to that kind of the project. So that moment, I decided to move to the U.S. for my experience. The, I mean, the decision is I mean, kind of for my personal growth and then the better opportunity. Definitely, I mean, expanding my experience to the exposure to the international experience make me a better opportunity, as well as the working with the diverse background, the colleague, and then using the language, make me the growth myself. That's the key, the consideration to move to the U.S. for my the career.
Oh, wow. But at the same time, like you work in risk management, and it sounds like it was a big risk, right, to move across the country. Like, what made that such an attractive opportunity?
So I'm very fortunate because the Deloitte is a very well-known company to the U.S. as well, and also the background and the consulting project portfolio. Also, I work for the big company in South Korea like the Samsung or the LG, and Lotte. So definitely I highlighted the background and the working experience when I searching the job in the U.S. as well. And also, I try to customize, tailor the resume whenever I apply to the the position. So I read through the detail of the job description. I'm trying to tailor the job the working experience to the highlight, the showcase the strengths for that position.
I see. I see. Wow, I didn't realize that you had that great experience working at Samsung and LG and Lotte, but you must be so privy to exactly what kind of workplace culture goes on at those big companies in Korea. So can we move on to the conversation of like what are those tangible differences and what does workplace culture look like at a place like Samsung compared to Morgan Stanley?
Definitely, I mean, the Korean corporate culture is really hierarchical, and then kind of, I mean, the relationship, they're oriented. But in the US, morely, communication focused and then output focused one. But there is some the misunderstanding to the corporate culture in the US. Definitely, I mean, there are the hierarchy in the US as well as the Korea as well. I mean, even though there is not obvious in the US, but definitely there is the kind of, the power structure, but in a less formal way.
I see. Um, and same question to you, Melissa. Yeah, what is your tangible experience?
Definitely. I mean, I 100% agree with Youngjin. In Korea, hierarchy is it's very hierarchical. So you have to really kind of know how to read the rooms. You have to understand your boss. And it's not your own like capability that really drives you to shine. It's really more of like being in a team and like sometimes like my colleague told me like I feel like a dust. But in the US, definitely, you know, I think the communication is so important. I think the individuality, having that assertiveness, voicing your opinion is super critical. But not to say that hierarchy is not important. I feel like there is a silent hierarchy that you have to also understand. And oftentimes, what the misunderstanding here is that, oh, because it's a very vertical, not sorry, horizontal layout in terms of organization, that is not so. Like, you also have to understand how to read the room. But I think the emphasis is more on your communication skill and being able to really voice your opinions very clearly, having a very strategic thought process, and sometimes speak more than you want to, because sometimes like one of the things that was a challenge for me when I came to New York City working is what drained me was not the work itself. It was more like the interaction. So when Youngjin means by relationship in Korea, I think there's a different definition. I think here forming that relationship is so important, especially the field that I am in marketing. Sometimes, like there's a saying, you have to be really good with small talk, but sometimes that really takes a lot of energy. Like You have to understand their lives, like their personal, like, you don't go straight to the meeting. You have to like, oh, how was your Thanksgiving? How was this and so? And that really, like, it's a lot. But like having that curiosity and genuine like interest in that person ultimately puts you in a better place and builds that good relationship, which, they will support you from work perspective. So I think relationship building is so important because in Korea, you do that with your colleague, like your best friends, like not with your boss, but you also do that with your boss, even your CEO. You ask those questions to just break the ice. And I think that's so important. And of course, communication, very important.
Yeah, to add the
Yeah.
Melissa's point, so from my experience, so in Korea, the corporate culture is hierarchical, but I mean, the people in Korea think, the company and the teams like and the family like. They working together and hanging out together in the office and out of office. But in the US, I think the teams like, the professional the sports team, they gather and assemble for the same purpose and the same. But they get together each other. But that came from the how look to the team and then how it looks like. That just came from the kind of the different perspective.
I see. Yeah, I think we talked a lot about some good tips about how to assimilate to the US corporate structure and ladder. But I'm curious, maybe Youngjin, you have some experience. You said that it's a lot more forthright, it's a lot more forward, the hierarchical structure in Korea. So, on the flip side of assimilating to the US, for anyone who's interested in moving to Korea
Mhm.
for a global career, what are some of like the real things that they might have to get used to?
The baseline experience, in Korea, so, the new graduate the student and to join the team, there's some, match the mentor and then teach everything. But in US, when I joined the team, and then I needed to reach out to the people. So kind of, apprenticeship style in the in the Korea, but in the US, proactively to reach out to the people who can help me. So without asking, no one help. So that's the main difference I felt so far.
Oh, I see. And how did you get across that like difference in communication style? It must have been a huge change, maybe to like the culture that you grew up in and the identity that you had. Like I know that for me, maybe communication doesn't come easy, and growing up Korean, like it might not be your first thought to speak out for yourself. So like, how do you get across those barriers?
Again, I think for me, it was very also a cultural shock to be in Korea, coming from, living in Europe. However, I think at the foundation, I think Koreans have like the thing called chong. I think it's something very special because as Youngjin said, like you go there and they kind of download you with everything. They give you like a full package. They're so kind from that perspective. So I think, blending into a team, I don't think that's a major issue unless, you have a personality issue, I feel like. However, I think just managing expectation with your boss and there's a multiple layers. I think that's when you kind of have to kind of read the lines of the rooms, and also have to adjust your voices. I think it has been evolved. I mean, Korea has evolved too. There's a lot of like Gen Zs and millennials who really are trying to drive the culture to be more Americanized. But still, I think you still have to be very careful with what you think. And sometimes voicing too much of your opinion can be detrimental to, what happens to you next and within the organization. So yeah, I mean, again, reading the lines of the rooms, understanding people, having more nunchi, just to understand like, oh, who's doing what. I think that was very important for me.
Yeah, totally agree on
Yeah.
Nancy's point. So as typical Korean and the Hungarian the guys, I'm really struggle to adapt myself when I moved to the US and joined the team in the US. So the communications are totally different. So the inner Korean, so kind of the communication more indirect, and then the relationship oriented, and then consensus the focused. But in the US, the people prefer to communicate more direct way, and then or the efficient driven, and morely the focus on the output. So, but people in Asia, especially, I mean, reluctant to the dispute or the provided, the challenges each other. But in the U.S., in the meeting room, really frequent to the back and forth, the constructive the debate or the challenges each other. I think, definitely that we should familiar with the kind of, the changes in cultural difference.
So you're seeing like the pros
Yes.
in each culture. So, in speaking about communication style, I know that you both had to go through this as a personal experience with your own career growth, but you all have also reached a point in your career where you're in leadership roles at companies with such a huge global presence. So I'm curious, like in your leadership positions, how do you navigate aligning a team that might be separated globally or in different fields? Like, how do you handle communication styles among other people?
So for me, definitely working in a global marketing field, I have a lot of like like regional partners all over the world, and I face definitely a lot of cultural differences, different cultural nuances, and also language barriers in English because they're not, English is not their native language. And I think what's helpful for me always was having an ABC approach. So A is aligning. So aligning. Your goal, right? What does your goal look like? Having a shared goal is so important, and kind of ensuring everyone to understand what the success looks like is so important. B is building. I think building as a team, working together to build a action item, an action plan, is so important and so important because I think it also not only clarifies what each and everybody has to do in their own roles, and but also kind of puts everyone into the process and have them feel invested in this journey together. And lastly, consequence. I think having people understand what the impact of each action items that they're actually building together, and having understanding the results and consolidating the result, and having a working session to really kind of leverage those results and put it into action plan and put into your strategy. I think that's very important. So having these three approaches will not only minimize the language barriers, it will definitely kind of keep your teams motivated and work collaboratively and also smoothly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the really challenges questions because I'm really tough because I'm definitely I'm daily based working with the colleague that are based in the London or the Mumbai and the Budapest and the Baltimore, all over the peoples across the world, and then the different time zone, and that there are different the background. They are working from the finance and operation and the management, so different view has. So that's the reason why it's really hard to sync up each other, align. So, but we have an ultimate goal, same goal, is business value. So, how we can deliver the valuable message to the management, that is, ultimate shared goal. So to achieve that goal, we should, and also my experience, everyone has different terminology and background. So we needed to think about from their perspective, how can align each other. We needed to use the same language, terminology, and also some case we needed to be sync up. It's really important and tough one.
Oh wow, that's super interesting. I'm curious. From those experiences and working with global teams, are there any like hard and fast rules that you found to be universally applicable? Maybe at the minute level of like email etiquette or meeting behavior, or maybe having that preemptive conversation about getting aligned on terminology. Yeah, what do you think are some like universal tips?
I mean, I think the universal tip again for me is really to Youngjin also addressed having that shared goal and maybe simplifying your communication. And if you're communicating to, especially to regional teams, global regional teams like in China or Korea or Europe, wherever, I think streamlining your writing style is also very important, very clear and succinct, I think that's very important, and leave everything in writing because words can or mistranslated or lost along the ways. So leave it in the writing is very important, and I think yeah, I mean again like building the process and incorporating everybody in the journey I think is very important because sometimes because people work in different field, they can be in trade marketing, they can be more in PR, and sometimes the subjects that we talk about cannot be of their interest. So I think re-emphasizing the goal but also ensuring their roles and responsibilities if they're part of this project or process is very very important, and sharing the end result is I think is very important.
So to add a man's point, so yeah, definitely we needed to show the respect because we are all the human being. So as a working as a one team, so we needed to always continuously to show the respect to the each other. And the practical, the skill tip. I mean, as I mentioned, everyone has a different the background, a different perspective. So I highly recommend to use the AI tool. So for example, I'm sometimes when I the draft the email and then the using the copilot, the like I mean prompt, I mean the rewrite for the non-technical reader, something like that. So that is a very I mean practical skill to convert the draft for I mean the non-technical the recipient, something like that. So that is I mean kind of the typical the really practical the tips for the people who are working with the global team members.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That also leads very well into my next question. I'm curious about kind of like outside of the workplace, what are the support systems that you relied upon? And AI is a really great tool, but were there any other resources or communities or mentors? And you both moved with families as well, so I'm sure they were able to help you along with that change. But how did you really bridge those cultural gaps outside of the workplace as well?
Um, my case, when I land in the US at the school, I'm trying to leverage all of the available resource within the school. I reached out to the international student office and the career advisor center and set up the meeting with the advisor, the regular base, weekly base, and get to know each other in terms of the improving my English skill as well as the learning the culture. And then while I'm searching the job, so I use the LinkedIn a lot. So I try to connect with the people in the industry that I'm really interested in, and then I DM the message, and then to set up the meeting, if possible, the in-person meeting as well. So that's really the great resource. And once I moved to the corporate, and then whenever I complete any of the project, I reached out to the team member, colleague, and manager to get the feedback to improve my weakness or the move up. So that is really the good approach to adapt myself into my workplace, but without asking no one help. So that's the reason why we needed to proactively to reach out to the people and then asking help.
Yeah, definitely. I want to piggyback on that. I think mentorship is so important, but I think people ask, how do I find my mentor? And I feel like you don't really need one mentor. You can definitely reach out to different mentors around your social group or your school or your previous life. And if you have a person that feels like, oh, this person can give me a tip on, I want to say, let's say like PR related things, like you go to them, or I want to go to this person just to really kind of help give me more motivational skills. You want to go to that mentor. So I think kind of compartmentalizing and understanding which person to go to, and to Youngjin's point, like reach out proactively, I think is very important. So you can have multiple mentors in your life. And for me, also YouTube was very helpful. Like there's a lot of like coaching, YouTube. There's like executive coaching and like leadership coaching out there. And for me, what was helpful was like understanding the languages they use, because the languages they use is so important because that's what's been used in the business. If you go to like with the CEOs, executive levels, there are languages and jargons that they always use, and I think it's very helpful to practice, and understand and practice through YouTube, and then you go to that meeting room, and then you kind of will collect those like words that they use constantly, and you have to make it to yours. I think that's very important. And sometimes I kind of like had a notebook and wrote down like these are the languages they use, and I would constantly use that and make it mine. And that's how you will kind of create that connection with your leaders. And lastly, I love reading books too. Not like not a big book reader. However, reading like biographies, and one of my favorite book is The Secret. Obviously, I love to be motivated. I love to stay positive, and I think that positive mindset is very helpful because there's a lot of challenges out there in your life, but also there's always challenges, right? And if you have like a mind shift in and bringing those challenges not as a setback, but as your catalysts or opportunities, I think that will help you personally and very mentally, but also will drive you and be and help you to become more productive. And people will appreciate your mindset because what's really valued in the American organization is how do you be creative, and you can be creative not as a marketing person. Youngjin can be creative, and anybody can creative when whatever function they are in facing challenges. So how are you going to resolve this? But if you don't have that positive mindset, you're never going to be able to think about how you're going to really kind of get through those challenges. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
a very diverse tips, some mindset, some things that you can
Yeah.
work on at home. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also a lot of that proactive energy that you were talking about, Youngjin. It sounds a little, I don't know if it's contrary to the idea of what you were saying before about how things are kind of implied in Korea. And that was something that you had to get used to, right? Like fighting for yourself, being proactive and asking for help and going out to find these outreach opportunities. Um, so I'm wondering if were there any major setbacks or challenges or like anecdotal evidence of places that really propelled you to make these changes?
To make these changes. I mean, for me, when I joined Revlon, um, the company went through a lot of like structural changes. The first day I came in, there was a person that I had a meeting in 9 a.m. She was let go in the afternoon. So there was a major restructuring going on. And during COVID, not only my company, but a lot of companies went to like furloughed a lot of people, which means a lot of your teammates were gone, meaning you will have to like take over a lot of work on your plate. You can't complain because you don't want to be let go, right? So you have to work. So, and then of course, a lot more. And then I had to switch departments because, I was in the fragrance category. I really wanted to go be in the skincare category. I raised my hand. My bread and butter was skincare and makeup, and I really wanted to move the department. The structural changes don't happen like tomorrow. You have to voice your opinions and raise your hand. So going back to my, positive mindset, there's going to be a lot of like structural changes in the organization, not only in the like global company, but also in Korean company. How do you focus yourself and get yourself motivated? Like there are times like, oh my God, like a lot of people are getting laid off, and like I just don't want to quit. And you're just so depressed. But how do you just, change your mindset and like keep yourself up there? And sometimes if you really thrive in those times, you get noticed and people notice you. And sometimes you can also bring that as your performance review and say, you know what? During this time when I didn't have any team members, I did XYZ and helped the business grow XYZ, right? And it was only me who did that. And they'll appreciate, and that will eventually help with your performance. And moving to a different department, nobody will notice. Nobody's going to say, like, oh my God, okay, do you really want to move? How can I help you? No, you have to raise your hand and say, you know what? You know what? This is my skill set. I think I'll excel better in this new department. What are the opportunities? What are the TOs look like in that department? And how can you help me eventually move there? Because I think I can excel. I can see myself better, excel better in that organization. So again, positive mindset and raising your hand and really understanding what you really want. I think it's very important.
I totally agree on Melissa's point because in Korea, when I work for the company in South Korea, so having the good the education background, work experience, open the door, the next step. But in here, everyone has really qualified candidate and really the good working experience. That means we needed to raise hands. Really want to do this one. So without, raising hand, no one knows. So proactively, the raise and then the showing the passion and interest. So and then that we can get additional opportunity to get into the new project or the opportunity and position.
Yeah. Yeah, it really ties back into what you were saying before, Melissa, about how you align your global teams
Yes.
with that single unified project goal. When you have that sense of urgency, I don't want to lose my job, I want to work in skincare, then there's like a driving factor for your ability to push yourself out there. I think maybe as the last question I'll ask of you is, how do you see yourself as an attractive candidate for global positions? And what advice can you give to any members of the audience that like, is this something that you can leverage being from a different country, or did you find it more of like something that you had to compensate for? Was it like an asset or disadvantage to you?
From my case, my work experience very consistent. So I mostly over the 10 years, my expertise focusing on the risk management and the assurance area. So the based on my resume, all of the recruiter and the hiring manager think, okay, so Youngjin has passion at this the area. Easy to the story tell. But even though I moved to the US, but my skill set and my background applicable. So that's the way how I can stand out and differentiate and then compare to my other competitors.
Huh. For me, I think to Youngjin's point, storytelling is so important. And I think definitely it depends on where you're which job you're looking for. For instance, based on the job descriptions, you'll have to go to the company. I would go to their values and really kind of align with my personal experience. But overall, having a great storytelling with your personal life for me was like I had a multicultural background. I navigated through different countries, but I also have a skincare expertise. And then, and I also kind of backed it up with my examples. Like for me as a marketer, when I was back in Korea, I brought in Byredo. I launched Byredo in Korea. What was that experience look like? I brought my iPad. I showed multiple pictures and I said, you know what? The campaign, I brought a fresh outlook on this campaign, and this is because I had, this really kind of feeds into my multicultural background, and I'm very open to differences and newness, and so kind of sculpting your story to wherever position you want to apply to, I think that's very important. But also fundamentally, you have to have a very clear personal and professional value. I think when people actually come in to join a new company, even leadership, the first thing they start off is like, "What is your background?" We don't really start off as like, "Okay, like." I graduated from this university. I had this X years of experiences in consultancy. That is like a part of your life. They start with, okay, I have this, like my family members are this. My hobby is this. I really like to do this. Fun fact about me is this. You have to really make yourself interesting because to his point again, there's a lot of people out there with similar specs, similar specs. And so everybody's the same. And how do you get yourself out there and make yourself shine? And a lot of reflection is helpful to your life. Like you might think you might not have an interesting life path, but you do. And what do you value? And having that clear value will shine through and have that person or anyone in the room understand who you are clearly.
Oh, that's a great tip. Yeah, very, very in line with your positive mindset. So thank you guys so much for answering all of my questions. I'm excited to turn it over to our audience. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists today in person or on our live stream as well? Yeah.
Uh, First of all, thank you for having us. It's a great honor to have a guest speaker. So my question is more focused on Youngjin. Currently, my name is Daniel, and I'm just pursuing economics. I'm trying to follow the same step on finance. Do you have any like a practical like recommendations that you want to give to the student who's trying to enter the finance market, which is very competitive right now? So
To be honest, I joined the Morgan Stanley as an experienced one, but that I learned from the colleague how you can approach to get a good opportunity in finance industry. So I'm not sure, but maybe do you have a lot of the networking event held by the school that proactively to reach out to your alumni and to get to know each other, and then maybe you can to get some the refer when you to find any specific the internship opportunity on the website, and then you can reach out to your alumni, and this is link of the position that can you recommend me and refer to that position. So that is the one way. Or as I mentioned, so you can reach out to the people in that industry as much as you can through the LinkedIn. So from my experience, 10% can be connected, but just 1% can be, can get the reply back from the people. So maybe you should be the rejected a lot, but you should be familiar with the rejection, I call the rejection immunities. Yeah, the keep hardworking, trying to connect with the people in there. And definitely, everyone needs just one job. So maybe you can keep hard working in the connection, try to the connect people. Definitely, you can get the opportunity in the end.
great, that was a great recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm a sophomore from Dartmouth College. I was just wondering, both of you guys both have a very strong background in consulting. Would you say that having that kind of background gave you more of like a leverage in terms of transitioning from industries?
For me, yes, because I think having the consulting background really kind of helps you build a strategic approach in communicating. And when communication is so important, spelling out what you really want to say in a very logical way is very, very important and with clarity. So definitely it was very helpful. Also, being in consulting, you get to meet a lot of different people from different industries and different levels, CEOs to all the way to managers. I think having that conversation and building that confidence and being able to speak to different levels is also very helpful.
My case, as a consultant, I'm very fortunate to be involved in a really diverse industry consulting project. I had opportunity to go to the shipbuilding yard, and then I had chance to go to the manufacturing facilities, the Hyundai Motors or any other the manufacturing industry, as well as I'm assigned to the finance, the company, the client as well. It means I can plug in my experience into any position. So and also as the Melissa mentioned, so compared to the other the people, so we've been connected with multiple level the people from the junior and the senior and executive level. So it's very valuable experience to switch the industry in the end.
Yeah, just to add on one more point is that I think you have to be careful if you have a certain industry that you want to go into, depending on which industry and you're also considering consulting. Having consulting background, not the longest year, I don't know if that's valuable. I think having a short amount of experience and then go to the industry as soon as possible sometimes can be helpful because in industry like beauty, yes, there's a lot of people who are in the consulting field, but do you really have a beauty industry? Do you have that understanding of beauty? That is a question from a leadership perspective. I think so. Having that expertise and knowledge in that industry, if it's important, I think you will have to also consider, that amount of time that you want to invest or commit is very important.
Great, thank you so much.
Hi, both. Thank you so much for this amazing session. I learned a lot. I felt like I was walking into a gold mine. So thank you so much with all your advice. My question is a little bit personal. I am a designer with about 5 years of experience, and my challenge right now at a global company is that truly, how am I going to navigate and become a middle manager? And it's very challenging because there's a lot of competition for me with hardworking colleagues of mine. And your advice on becoming a really good communicator as well as building your portfolio really makes sense. But could you give me a further advice on how I could build my niche as someone who's currently working in a global company? If you could also give me a specific example from your career as well, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. So I think I can resonate a little bit more because I'm in the similar industry and I work with a lot of designers around me. Is your goal a creative director? I think at some point everybody wants to be in the leadership position. And I think having that strategic mindset is so important. I know like designers are very creative, but sometimes they need to be a little bit more, not that they're not strategic, but more corporate. So, how do you balance your creativity into corporate strategy? For instance, let's say there is a project to um, update a logo of a brand. But if the leadership has a focus on, okay, we want to really change the perception of our brand to be more modern, more elevated, I think that design direction will also follow that strategy. So reading the leadership's uh, strategy to the brand or the product, and really kind of blending into your creative directions when you're working in your space is very important. And when you're presenting your creative or uh, output, you will have it's helpful to kind of say, you know what, in terms of strategy, this is our goal, and therefore, this my design option 1, 2, 3 really kind of feeds into that goal. And as you kind of work in that route, they will appreciate you as more of a leader than just a designer.
Yeah, from my perspective, so so different skill sets required. I mean, as a staff or the junior staff. So junior staff is, I mean, the key point is how to perform and how to complete the mission in a timely manner. But as you move up to the manager level, the people management, project management skill. But at the same time, you need to do the field work as well. So as a junior, your energy 100% to perform the task. But as a mid manager, the 50% to complete the mission, 50% you're the time and the resource to the people manage, and also how to delegate the mission to the subordinate. So the different skill sets required. So as I move up, you need to think about what skill set is required to be able.
Hello? We have a question from the live stream. This person was interested in hearing more about that ABC strategy you had mentioned before, and they said that in a position where strong leadership is required, how can they lead a team even when they have different goals or values?
Sure, I think that's a very good question. So again, different teams have different values and goals within their organization. However, at the end of the day, there's a shared goal. There always is a shared goal. For instance, in my organization, our shared goal, let's say when I'm talking to a partner in China, our shared goal is to drive business and make sales. So, that's the shared goal. And I think understanding how to align their small goals and building an umbrella of how the ultimate goal really kind of feeds into their smaller goals. I think clarifying that is very important. And so that's why aligning is very, very important. And also building. As I mentioned, connection is so important, right? So building a team, working as a team is so important. Understanding their culture, their challenges, and really trying to have like a one-on-one and say, you know what is your really challenge? Where you're really coming from is very, very critical to help them kind of bring them on board. And again, consequence. Everybody, has like shared consequences, right? So if you clarify, okay, we have to improve 5% of our margin. That is a consequence that we have and a goal that we have to share. And if we don't do this, the impact is XYZ. So really spelling out what the consequence look like as precise as possible is very important.
I think we have time for just one more question, whether in person or via live stream. So, yeah.
So thank you. I have a separate question for each speaker. For Melissa, can you share more firsthand experiences about consulting? Because beforehand, I had a coffee chat with a consultant, but it was only he was telling only superficial stories. You can just type it in the Google and those kind of stories. So I really want to learn more about consulting. And for Youngjin, currently I'm dreaming for asset management. Can you tell more? Can you spill more teas about how risk management or any asset management related, you may have a colleague or any department related those spots? Can I have a glimpse on those departments, please?
So on consulting, I think I come from brand consulting, so a quite different it's a different aspect from business consulting or financial consulting. However, I think they share the same structure of the organization. I don't know what specifically about consulting that you want to learn about, but I think if you want to become a consultant, you have to be able to absorb fast and pick things up very quickly because you're going to be exposed to different industries. And obviously you can't dig deep into those industry, but you have to be able to pick up the business challenges and issues and the strategic approach that you have to take. And you have to be very quick. So absorb, and you have to be immersing yourself too. So I also was working for Tucson at some point in my life in LG, and I went to LA to their offices, Kia, and interviewing them. I went to their factories. And honestly, that is not my interest. However, I have to immerse myself. So, how do you immerse yourself and really kind of put yourself into that project? And then, of course, you have to move to another project, but you have to be very flexible and just act like a sponge. Obviously, Google is a tool, but you don't really Google. You have to also try the product. You have to speak to the people and act like a professional. And sometimes, acting, I don't want to say faking, but acting as a professional, as a consultant. And as a consultant, people will have a trust already built in you and see, okay, you're a consultant, you have your strategic skill set in you. And so they will respect you from that perspective. But, absorbing like a sponge, acting professional, and being able to really immerse yourself in that industry, I think is critical.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have any direct connection and opportunity working with the asset management department because my core coverage is, enterprise-wide risk management in the IT asset area. But maybe definitely I've been working with the multiple teams, including the asset management indirectly. But maybe we can discuss offline, maybe if you want.
Oh, there will be a great chance. Thank you.
Great. All right, I think that wraps up our program for today. So thank you so much again to our speakers for such insightful answers. One more round of applause.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great job, you guys. So we're going to end it here for our live stream, but for all of our in-person audience, please feel free to stick around. We have some snacks in the back, and our speakers will also stick around to connect with you guys. So thank you again. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.